Jimmy.
What?
It's the list and your boy at Fightful.com. With Jimmy Van and Sean Ross Sapp. They're on fire. Boom shakalaka.
200 strong.
One day, Jimmy will learn what your mic is hot means.
Did I just talk into the mic? Yeah.
Yes,
mic again?
every time, Jimmy.
You know what? You're very fortunate that we don't talk about like your salary and raises and shit on that
because
hot
people
mic.
would be astonished at how little I make. What's up, you guys?
I beg to differ that you are absolutely incorrect. I beg to differ.
What's up, you guys?
This is going to be a Twitch exclusive one day, Sean. All right? It's going to be a Twitch exclusive. We'll have this conversation one day, and all of our viewers are going to watch and go, Sean, you can go fuck yourself.
No, they won't.
That's
No,
what-
they
yes,
won't.
Yes,
No, they won't, because I'll bring the numbers, Jimmy.
Yeah,
I'll bring the numbers.
Yeah.
And I hope that you guys will help us bring the numbers to FightfulSelect.com. We're a few away from another goal. Today, I have news on a Ring of Honor star who told us that there was outside interest before they re-signed. Also, I had a bunch of news on Diamond Mine right after they debuted last night. And we're going to be talking about that an awful lot. But if you're here right now, it's Listen Your Boy, number 219. Leave a thumbs up. Donate a super chat. Get your question or statement read on the air. Kind of like this one that we'll answer in a little bit. But Jimmy, what's up?
So I guess Tessa's going to debut next week, right, Sean?
Jesus. So
Next week.
So should I go ahead and get into that now or wait until we talk about Diamond
Let's
Mine?
wait. Yeah, let's wait.
Okay.
Let's wait. But there were so many people that were absolutely convinced Tessa Blanchard was debuting in NXT. So many.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit.
I figured maybe she was going to be right beside DDP because, like, DDP, the Diamond Mine. So it was going to be DDP and Tessa Blanchard. So the first thing I have to do, because I promised I would, Sean. Actually, the first thing I should do is say, anybody that's a longtime viewer, I got my Tim Hortons again because I'm back to kind of somewhat civilization, But I promised my wife this. So last weekend was Father's Day, and my wife. So, Sean, 2 little kids, they made me nice little cards and, woke me up in the morning and gave me hugs and all that nice stuff. My wife she doesn't know what to get me for a gift ever.
Yeah.
Look at this. How can I get that on camera? There you go. That's what my wife got me. And chat, you know what she wanted me to do? So this is Sami Zayn's t-shirt, in case anybody doesn't know. That's Sami Zayn's t-shirt. My wife wanted me to wear this in the office. And I had to tell her, like, with all due respect, I don't like to pat myself on the back. I am the CEO of this company. I'm not wearing my fucking Sami Zayn t-shirt in the office. But that's what she wanted me to do. But she got me that as I never know what to get. Yeah, I thought it was very different. I told her this is very different. This is very creative. She knows the reason she got it is because I popped for Sami Zayn. Especially the current character, Sami Zayn. She thinks I find it very entertaining, which I do. So that's why she got me that. So that's the first thing, Sean.
What else you got, Jimmy?
Well, I was going to ask you about how come CM Punk doesn't like you, Sean?
Oh, geez. Well, first off,
enemies.
First off, I didn't write the article. Second off, there's nothing wrong with the article. Third off, I don't know what to tell you. If he wants money from Fightful, I'm sure you would pay him money to write for the magazine. And some people were like, that's sarcastic. And I was like, no, it's not sarcastic. I'm sure he'd be really great at writing.
Oh, I'm sure he would be.
Had that Q&A been a Fightful exclusive, we would have paid him for it, just like we do any writer. So
Phil Brooks, if you see this, bud, hit me up. I'll pay you.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he's watching right now.
He's watching live every week.
He's tuned in right now, ready to go.
Yep, every week. Yeah.
What are they going to say about me? That's exactly what he's doing right now. He doesn't have anything else better to do with his life than that. But
and he absolutely cares about what Fightful has to say about it.
Like the being mad over wrestling news websites, news websites in general is such a horseshit fake outrage thing. Like,
yeah, I mean,
get over it. Find something worthwhile to be upset about. And he wasn't. He just said, I wish I got paid money for every time they use this as news. And hey, you know the term that I use, Jimmy? Snakes and sparklers all the time from the Joe Dirt thing. Yep. Did I care about that article? No, I didn't give a shit about it. I didn't care. But there are thousands of other people that do.
Oh, yeah.
And creating content is not just about what I like. It's about what our consumers like. there's all kinds of stuff that I report that I don't care about, that I don't think really give a shit about. But I can't just sell snakes and sparklers at my fireworks stand. Sometimes we got to get some whistling bungholes out there, Jimmy. Sometimes you got to get some Husker do's and Husker don'ts. And
there were a lot of people.
Something worthwhile to be upset about, guys.
Yeah, there were a lot of people really offended.
No, there were not. There were a lot of people who pretended that they were offended.
Pretended to be offended.
Wanted to be upset about something.
I see. Like most internet trolls, really.
Yes.
Well, I thought that was interesting. So we're doing this on June 23rd. And can you believe, Sean, you want to talk about how sometimes I date myself a little bit, you know? Can you believe that today, June 23rd, this is the 25th anniversary, the quarter of a century mark of the night that Stone Cold Steve Austin cut the Austin 316 promo at the King of the Ring. 25 years, and I'm not ashamed to say, because I'm in a good spot, but I remember watching it live.
Nice.
I remember watching it. Oh, don't even start with me, Sean. I love how Sean wants you to think that he's living in a hostel in fucking Lexington.
My walls. I wish I was living in Lexington. I'm living an hour outside of Lexington right now. There is no DoorDash. There are no food delivery services. There is no Uber. There's nothing like that. My walls are crumbling, Jimmy. I'm living next to a sinkhole. The foundation's coming down. I'm gonna die.
Can I ask you a question?
No, you just did. You wasted your question. You did. You asked it twice. That's the third time.
Okay, that's from The Simpsons. 3. That's from The Simpsons. That's where you took that from. No. My question is, what is the average salary to your knowledge? What's the average salary in your town? That to your knowledge.
Hold on. Look, hold on. It is $130,000.
That is absolutely erroneous nonsense. I bet you the average salary in your town is less than half what you made this year. Actually, I'm going to go further. No. The average salary in your town is 1/4 what you're going to make this year. The average salary in your town. And you know it's true. So just so you know, anybody watching this who, Jimmy's the, he's the man who's keeping Sean down. Absolute bullshit.
He really is.
Absolute bullshit. Yeah, and Sean's having a very good 2021.
Ask Jimmy what percentage I make off of Fightful Select or YouTube.
Here's a question for you.
0%.
Here's a question.
We're going to mute Jimmy real quick. Jimmy's muted. Anyway,
how much money have I pulled out?
Let's mute Jimmy again. He's out here promoting Tim Hortons. They're not even a sponsor right now. Look at that. What else you got on your list, Jimmy?
Am I still muted?
Nah, you're good.
Oh, good. So Anderson Silva. Did you see that?
Oh my God. I loved it.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Now, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is like 35, but he's still an active, good boxer. And Anderson Silva beat him.
Yes. Now, I don't know. After watching that performance, I don't know if I want to refer to Chavez Jr. as good, because that was embarrassing, and he should be embarrassed by his performance. And let me tell you something. The corruption, dude, in boxing, everybody involved with that whole production should be embarrassed. And so if anybody didn't see the fight, one judge gave it to Chavez Jr. 3, I didn't see their names, but I'm going to presume they're Mexican judges. They were in Mexico. One of them gave it to Chavez Jr. It wasn't close.
No,
it wasn't close. Anderson Silva beat his ass. And it's funny because Silva's not stupid. When they started doing the judging, and when they said judge number 1, whatever, gives it to Chavez, Silva's smiling because he knows. Yeah. He knows this is a corrupt fucking sport. But he did fantastic. And I got to tell you, Sean.
Hold on. Some people are saying, like, Cesar Chavez Jr. is washed. Buddy, so is Anderson Silva. That's the point. Like, like you all are talking about, like, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is washed. Yeah. Anderson Silva is 46 years old.
Yes.
He has 1 win in the last 6.5 years.
Yes.
Like, officially 1 win in the last like 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
Like, he's also washed up, but man,
11-year age difference.
Yes.
And I knew going in, so on the broadcast, because the broadcast was, they were all boxing people, boxing commentators and whatnot. They were very critical of Chavez Jr., especially as the fight was going along, because he was doing terrible.
Yes.
Like he didn't hardly throw any punches, and he was really, and you know what shocked the hell out of me? So if anybody is a fan of Anderson Silva, you know this. Silva's knock was that he got so cocky in his fights that he would drop his hands. And when he lost to Weidman, it's because he dropped his hands. So there he is in a boxing match, Sean, against a guy with 60 fights on his record, Chavez Jr. And what does he do? He drops his hands doing the mocking like this. I'm watching it thinking you were going to get annihilated doing that in a boxing ring against a boxer with 60 fights. And what happened? Nothing. Chavez Jr. did nothing. He just stood there and let him get away with it. I could not believe it that he stood there and let him get away with it, but he did.
I love it. I love it. I'm all on these circus fights. I was actually talking to a WWE wrestler yesterday who was like, no, I'm not into them. I love it. I love it.
So I liked that one because that one was two legitimate athletes, even though I know Silva was an MMA guy, but I believe he boxed like, a couple of decades ago too. I was into that one because like Chavez Jr. is a legit fighter, even though I know the knocks on him, and Anderson Silva is an all-time great. So that one was cool. Lamar Odom and fucking whoever that idiot is, I didn't give a shit about that. Logan Paul, I just wanted to see him get beat. That was a joke. Jake Paul's an embarrassment. Those ones are different. But for me, Anderson Silva, Chavez Jr., I was intrigued by that fight, man, because they're two legitimate athletes.
Yes.
So I was, I wanted to see what was going to happen in that fight.
I mean,
Anderson,
I love it
great
from every end of the spectrum. I love Lamar Odom versus Aaron Carter. I love Anderson Silva versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I'm all for it, man. Like,
what's the next one?
I'm like considering, because we do the watch alongs and stuff, and obviously the ones where like Rosenstrike are the main event. They don't do big traffic or anything, so we're looking at rebranding like Fightful Fight Nights. That way, it's like big events that me and Steven Jensen and other people come and watch, because during a big fight or a fight that captures the interest like that, everybody is talking about it on the timeline, like wrestling fans, MMA fans, boxing fans. And I dig that. I love it. Getting to cover a Mike Tyson boxing fight is not something I ever thought I would do. And a lot of the people that mentored me coming up would talk about, oh, there's nothing like covering a Mike Tyson Saturday night, and nothing like that. And I was like, well, I'll never get that opportunity. And I got to this year. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Do you think Mike smoked anything that night, Sean?
Probably not. That would be stupid.
That'd be stupid. Yeah, I thought so. No, Silva did great. And I couldn't help but chuckle because you remember when he fought Chael Sonnen?
Yes.
And Anderson Silva, when he's going into the fight with Chael Sonnen, because I don't think he likes some of Chael Sonnen's chirping and stuff, Silva would not want to do English in interviews. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And so he would pretend he didn't know English. And so Chael Sonnen, because Chael Sonnen knew he knew English, Chael Sonnen had fun with him, where Anderson Silva would want to be asked everything in Portuguese, and then Silva would answer in Portuguese, and then Sonnen, because he knew he's full of shit and he speaks English, Sonnen would be like, okay, what he said was, this is where he's going after dinner, after the fight. And he made fun of it. So there's Silva in the ring after the fight with Chavez Jr. His English is perfect. You know what I mean? And I just watched that thing to myself. And this was the guy against Chael Sonnen that didn't want to speak it, claiming that he didn't speak it because he was tired of
as a wise man once said, I back. Trust me, I back.
Yeah.
We have some super chats. Vincent Millard says, free the dirt sheet, bang.
That's getting some buzz, huh?
It is. And I didn't expect it to. Evan Wright says, can I get a go Habs go from Jimmy? Amazing hockey.
You will never get a go Habs go from me. However, I dislike them less than I dislike the Toronto Maple Leafs. So good for the Montreal Canadiens. They're looking good. I think they got Vegas psychologically defeated. So I think Montreal will go to the finals now, which I never would have predicted.
Triple Stroke says, can you see Keith Lee in Money in the Bank? No, I can't. He's not cleared right now. I don't think it's going to happen. Matt says that he didn't know I did voiceover work. What match would be bigger, Roman versus Cena or Brock versus Lashley? I think Roman versus Cena from a mainstream perspective, because they're both in movies. They're both they've been the top guys. Lashley is a top guy, but he's not the top guy, even though he's completely capable of doing something special with Brock.
You're absolutely right. Roman Cena is going to get all the marquee. Brock Lashley, I've wanted that fight. How long on this podcast, Sean, have I talked about Brock? I've been talking years. I've been talking about that's the fight I want. I want to see Brock and Lashley.
It's such a slam dunk, Jimmy. It's one that people have talked about for so long, and it's like, why not do it?
It'll be fantastic. Like Lashley, Lashley's the only guy in the company that matches up to him in terms of size, in terms of strength, and in terms of the backgrounds. Like those guys are almost mirror images of each other. Ages too, they're pretty close. Yeah. They like mirror each other. That I very much look forward to seeing that.
Guys, get your super chats in. It'll get your question or statement read on the air. If you're here watching live at youtube.com/Fightful, leave a thumbs up. Some stupid punk says, dirt sheet boy shirt, Jimmy. I mean, I'm sure we'll have one, but here's the deal. Everybody says, oh, give me a shirt, give me a shirt, give me a shirt. Then nobody orders them. So.
Oh, I know that as well as anybody, Sean.
Yeah.
Sean Ross Sapp. So we have a Skype chat, right? And Sean will
Jimmy again.
Sean will be like, yeah, shut up with the mute. Sean will be like, hey. Am I muted right now?
No.
Okay. Sean will be like, hey girls, can we get a design for this shirt? And I'll say to Sean, oh, what are you going to get? Like one sale off of that one? Like, come on. Yeah.
Well, I mean, most of them are just regular fonts. So, I mean, what's the harm? What's the harm? What else you got on your list, Jimmy?
Did you watch the Vice documentary on Chyna?
I have not watched it yet. I have not watched it yet. I'm going to this weekend.
I was infuriated, and it's in a way, Joni Laurer reminds me of Sherry Martel a little bit, because Sherry Martel, I had the opportunity to spend time with her over a course of a weekend at an independent show. She was just a sweetheart, but she had a lot of demons. In her case, it was a little bit different than Joni Laurer because Chyna had Sherry had a lot of injuries from the ring. And those injuries led her to pills, and unfortunately, eventually that led to her passing. But Sherry had a lot of issues as well, and I had the chance to spend time with her. Watching that Joni Laurer documentary, man, was infuriating because here was this person. Now her story was pretty public already, so I already knew obviously about her going to Japan, teaching school, coming back, having issues with addiction. I knew about her piece of shit manager. I even heard about the ashes before, where he kept some of her ashes. So that stuff was public. I had never seen the footage that he shot. So this guy had shot footage because he was going to make a documentary. And what I didn't know was that he lost that footage, and Vice was able to utilize it, do their own documentary, which turned out really, really good. But this guy, Anthony Anzaldo, what a manipulative piece of shit this guy was. And you know what really pissed me off in this documentary, among other things? A lot of things pissed me off. So here's this girl that very clearly needed help. It was very clear she needed help. And all he's doing, Sean, is, oh, we got to get her to this Comic-Con. Let's get her to this Comic-Con. And then they've got like the sign up, autographs, $30, right? And I'm watching that thinking, who's getting most of that money? I bet you Joni Laurer didn't get most of that money.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then towards the end, when she was really in a bad way, and things weren't looking good for her, what did this fucking guy do, Sean? She needed somebody to go to her place, grab her, take her to rehab. You know what he did? He hit up A&E to try to book her for intervention.
Not surprised.
That's
what
that piece of shit did. And I was watching that. I was infuriated watching that. That was a preventable death. Shouldn't have happened. And that guy is a bag of shit. And I wish nothing but bad things on that guy because he deserves it. And it's really unfortunate. And he wasn't the only one. She was surrounded at that time by people that took advantage of her. But he was the main one. And it was just really sad to watch. Really sad.
Yeah. I've never been fond of Anzaldo since really I've heard some of his interviews and stuff. And I was like, and it was very clear what he was doing. He was latching on.
100%. Yes.
Some stupid punk says, what do you think the odds are of a sunny dark side of the ring? If they do another season, I'm sure they'll do it. Also, she's out of jail now. So I'm sure she'd probably participate in it, to be honest with you.
And I hate to say it, but like her path and Joni Lauer's path, there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
And I hope
different substances that.
Yeah. But in terms of like the career path and all that kind of stuff. And I hope that she goes down a different road, but
I mean, for a while it seemed like she was doing so well, and that's what I want to see. I mean, Sunny has done some really bad shit.
And you know how like well educated she is?
Yes, she's a very smart woman.
Very intelligent person. Yes, she is. Not that Joni wasn't. Joni was too.
I want to see her I want to see her take note of the cautionary tales that are around here. Evan Wright says Omega versus Jungle Boy should be a classic. Oh, I'm sure it'd be great. The result isn't in doubt though. But
that's not always a bad thing.
It's not always a bad thing. No.
So go ahead.
Rob Wilkins says some rumors about Big E being reunited with New Day at next draft. I would capitalize and do it at the first Raw with a crowd. That pop would be big.
Yes, it would.
I think Big E, if they can't get Lesnar, as somebody pointed out, should win Money in the Bank, and he should challenge Lashley.
That'd be great.
There you go.
I would be all for that. I still think back to the Rumble when Brock's in the ring and Big E's music hits and he's the next guy down. And I was stoked thinking, here we go. But then what do they have him do? They have him go corral his buddies at ringside so they can go 3-on-1 on Brock, which was so shit. But I absolutely agree. I think that's a great story. If they can't get Brock, I want them to get Brock. And I think they will get Brock, but otherwise I'd love to see it.
Kieran George says, dream scenario, Lesnar beats Lashley, Riddle wins Money in the Bank, and Riddle finally gets his dream match with Brock at Mania. I think I don't think that's the case. Do you want to go ahead and talk about the Brock and Heyman and Roman stuff?
Yep. So this made news this week. You mentioned some stuff on Select, so I'll throw it to you in a minute. Also, Andrew Zarian, is that how you pronounce his name?
Andrew Zarian.
Yes. He mentioned stuff about Brock. He posted a GIF of Brock holding up the belts, and he said coming soon or something like that. And he's been spot on with a lot of his stuff too. Tell me first, it looks like his return is imminent. And the other thing I told Sean.
Well, WWE hopes it's imminent.
Okay,
there's a
all
difference.
Right. Okay,
People close to him are adamant that it's not, that WWE's interests don't reflect Brock's. And it was reiterated to me by people that are close to him. And I even showed you that it's not as a slam dunk as WWE thinks it is. WWE seems to think that they can just get him whenever it is that they need it.
Like, hey, here's your paycheck.
And I asked last year, hey, why isn't his stuff up here? Why isn't it up there? And I was told, well, it happens every year. It's just taking a little bit longer this year. This is the longest Brock has ever been without wrestling in WWE since he came back.
Right.
So I don't think it's as imminent as it was originally indicated to me by WWE sources. But there are some people in there, high-level people, that seem to think, oh, yeah, we'll get Lesnar if we want, and we're going to make it happen. But there are people in other departments that have not been prepped for a Brock Lesnar return that would have been prepped for it, for like getting stuff ready and all that. But yeah, I don't think it's a slam dunk. I would not be surprised to not see Brock Lesnar at this point. But high-level people in WWE thought that like it was to the level in which they felt comfortable confirming to me.
Right.
Oh yeah, we're gonna make this happen. But then other people close to him are like, I don't think so.
Right. Well, they had moved his profile back to .com from alumni, maybe because, again, like you're saying,
I think it's been that way for a while.
Oh, has it been?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, because he was on alumni for a while. And then the other thing that made me kind of question it, you and I talked about this. So Sean interviewed Bobby Lashley, and I can't recall exactly how you worded your question. Something about who do you want to face at SummerSlam? I think you said not that you want to overlook Drew at Hell in a Cell, but who do you want to face at SummerSlam or something? And Lashley
I specifically said besides Brock, because that's the easy answer.
Yeah, but before you said that, you said besides Brock, Lashley started chuckling. He didn't say nothing. He just started chuckling, looking at the camera. And I said to Sean later on, clearly he's thinking Brock. But then you immediately brought up Brock. So I guess we'll see. My other question was going to be for you. So, let's say that they get Brock, hey, Brock, come and do it. Here's your payday, whatever. What do they do with Paul Heyman? Do they just have him with him and Roman? Do they just don't worry about him with Brock? Do you think that they'll already be looking kind of past Lashley to Brock and Roman in a story over Heyman? What do you think they would do? Because Brock doesn't necessarily need Heyman. They're just afraid to have Brock cut live promos. That to me has always been why Heyman's there. They don't want Brock on a live mic, but otherwise he doesn't need Heyman. So what do you think about that?
I think he would go to Raw where Heyman could just do that and wouldn't even really have to acknowledge the Roman Reigns thing. They could do it completely separate. And that's like, what was Paul supposed to do for a year and a half? Chill out at his house? Like even Brock would be like, the character would be like, that you can do what you want. Hannah says, I've been saying this for a year, Paul Heyman on a pole match. But like
shark cage.
I think Brock and Becky go to Raw. I think Cena and Edge are on SmackDown. That's what I think, because I think Edge will face Rollins. I think Cena will face Reigns. I think Becky and probably Charlotte, although I think that Ripley is the better move right now. We've seen the Charlotte stuff again. And I think that Brock and Lashley, if they can make it work, which, again, I got to reiterate, people close to him don't seem to think it's as imminent as people in WWE think.
Yeah. But then you'd have Paul on the pay-per-view essentially going out with both of them. So he'd be going out for both main events.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I guess we'll see what happens. I've been very honest about this. Like, Brock is the guy that I probably find the most entertaining to watch as a wrestling fan, because you can suspend disbelief with him when he's out there. And again, not to discredit, the Orange Cassidys of the world and all that. To me, it's not as fun. I prefer the guys where I can suspend disbelief and believe that what I'm seeing is kind of crossing over to reality. And Brock Lesnar is the guy for that. So I hope we see Lashley and Brock. But if we don't, your Big E idea is a good idea. That would work for me.
Well, I think it was somebody in our chats, actually, so I don't want to take credit for it. Okay. Some Stupid Punk says, seconding Hannah. And Ricardo says, Jimmy's picks, male, female, for Money in the Bank.
I'd like to see who all is in. So we'll talk about that in a bit. So far we got Ricochet, Morrison, Riddle. Obviously, of those three, Riddle's the pick of those three. I want to see who else is going to be in before I can really pick. And same thing for the female one. I know a lot of people have been suggesting, well, Doudrop is going to win. And
I don't think so now. I don't think so now.
Oh, you don't think so now? Okay,
because now that they've got the way that things went Monday, I don't think so anymore.
Where Eva got pinned?
I mean,
okay.
Also, they didn't qualify.
Oh, yeah, but aren't they going to do like a last chance and all that garbage?
I don't think so. I don't think for them. They're doing the 2 tag matches, and then they'll do more on SmackDown, I think.
Okay. Well, that would be good.
Because they've already got 4 women from Raw set for that thing.
Right.
Because they did the 2 tags.
2 tag matches. Okay. Well, we'll see what happens.
Chris says, what do you read into Dynamite not having a full card announced for Saturday? While normally we know basically the whole show a week in advance. It's not taped this week. They are back to live. All their shows from here on out, all their Dynamite shows are scheduled to be live with fans. So I think that they'll probably wait until they get it in order. Plus, if you've watched Dynamite the last month, I would imagine, just my hunch, that Tony Khan is probably looking at creative and saying, you know what, maybe we need to switch something up.
Full House?
I don't know about Full House. And even if it was allowed to be, I think they're allowed to do Full Houses. I just don't think a Full House would show up for the 74th Dynamite in the past year in Jacksonville. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I don't want to say they've killed the town, but they have right now.
Yeah. Both companies are looking forward to going on the road, I'm sure.
Joel says, have Bobby destroy Kofi at Money in the Bank, have Big E win the briefcase, and go to Raw to avenge his brothers. That's what I think is the easy slam dunk home run idea.
Like
I
a
think
backup
that
plan if there's no Brock, basically.
Yes, I think that's really good. Guys, you can also get in your super chats, get your questions or statements read on the air. What else you got, Jimmy?
Well, let's talk about some NXT. So, people thought Tessa was going to be the Diamond Mine. This is where you can jump in. People thought Tessa was going to be the Diamond Mine. Everybody thought Tessa was going to be the Diamond Mine. And now we saw it this week, Roderick Strong, Tyler Rust, Hideki Suzuki, and Malcolm Bivens. You know what? Right now, NXT is the land of heel factions. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. So like right now you've got the Diamond Mine, you got the Way, you got Hit Row, Imperium is still kind of kicking around. They got a lot of these heel factions. You think of WWE back in 97, they had the Nation of Domination and they had Los Boricuas and they had the Disciples of Apocalypse. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Too. NWA was
NWA too.
Around.
Yep. So it's
DX.
Yeah, they were. I think they came a little later.
They were 97, 97 and 98
at the same time. Yeah,
they were there from late 97 all the way through 98. So yeah, because that's how it branched off. The members of the Nation, Crush, Savio, they formed their own thing.
No, they're two, right?
They had the gang wars. But so I just want to clarify something. I had people that said, "Oh, why would you smile when it wasn't Tessa?" Well, you know what? I've been poking around about who Diamond Mine was for months. Diamond Mine, as I reported on Fightful Select, please subscribe, has been a plan for months and months and months before Roderick Strong quit on NXT. When I would ask about Diamond Mine, it was played so close to the vest. So close to the vest.
Let me ask you this. So I believe it was in February, where Malcolm Bivens referred to Tyler Rust as Diamond in the Rust?
Yes.
Was that done because they already knew then in February that they were going to do this?
I think they knew they were going to do a group, but I don't think they knew it was going to be like Roderick Strong and all that. But I don't know if that's just where it emerged from. But I need to specify. People are like, why would you spoil that it wasn't Tessa? People in WWE wanted me to do that. And occasionally that happens. Like I would be like, hey, who is this? Who is this? Who is this? And they'll be like, well, I'll tell you who it's not. It's not Tessa Blanchard. It's not Parker Boudreaux, because that was completely fan fueled.
Yes.
Total fan fueled. All of it. Like there wasn't anything to indicate besides the diamond thing that she had used. And WWE did not want people to think it was Tessa Blanchard, because there are going to be some people that, one, were going to go in ready to dislike it, and two, that would be disappointed, one or the other. They would have either had some preconceived notion that it was Tessa. So 6 weeks ago, we reported that it wasn't her. We had also put out there Parker was not a part of it. And I mean, I'm sure, like, we had a super chat from Josh Cardenas that says, can you see anybody else joining Diamond Mine? Yes, I can. I've heard some other names over the past day or so, the past 16 hours since they debuted. But you want to talk about a home run angle? Like I had mentioned on Fightful Select yesterday, NXT is looking to put more marquee value into the cruiserweight division.
Right.
Roderick Strong from the Undisputed Era in there, that does it. And the reception online, 95% positive, Jimmy. You almost never have that anymore. I'm really digging this.
When's the last time that you can recall a faction being involved in a storyline around a cruiserweight championship? Like, this doesn't happen very often. Like,
Legado del Fantasma.
Well, all right, but I guess I look at them differently. I look at them differently. Like I look at it as something, not that I want to, discredit, anything else, but I look at it differently. Like, this is something that they're really going to get behind on the brand, and might even put them into main event matches and stuff like that too. It's interesting. And I don't know what they need. They need a female added, because that's the one thing. If they're going to be out there with Hit Row and with the Way and whatnot, they could use a female added to the group.
Yes.
So I can see that happening, but it's interesting. Like, they got so many factions, but like I said, it's not necessarily a bad thing. They're finding things for these guys to do. I
love the faction based stuff. I wish there was some babyface stuff. Now, I mean, look at AEW, the Wingmen. A bunch of people they just threw together, and it works, and people find it entertaining, and as a result, they're over. And when they're on TV, people like it. This is a really good mix of new, familiar, and established. We know who Malcolm Bivens is. We know what he's capable of. He's got an incredible following on social media. You know who Tyler Rust is because he's been there, but he wasn't like a guy that could lead a stable yet. Roderick Strong is. Roderick Strong has been a part has been the focal point of many storylines over the past few years. And then you get Hideki Suzuki. And as soon as people Google Hideki Suzuki, they're going to go, oh,
yeah, he can go.
Okay. Yes. And when I saw that, I wasn't sure that Hideki Suzuki was going to be added. I got an inclination as it got closer. I was like, I think it's Bivens. I think it's Rust. I think it's Strong. And I even hinted at Strong on Twitter. I had no idea about Suzuki because I thought he was maybe just going to be a coach or something.
Yeah, a trainer. Yeah.
Holy crap. What a great addition that is. And I wasn't sure how it would work with like Bivens and Strong and Rust, but man, it's reminiscent of the Catch Point stable that Stokely Hathaway and Timothy Thatcher and so many did before. And you know what? Maybe Timothy Thatcher joins that eventually. And you know what? Maybe you branch off and you're doing Kushida and you're Roderick Strong and you're doing Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa some more.
Yep.
There's some real good stuff here. I'm all for it. Ray Callahan says, is it weird that Roddy really never handled UE? I think they'll save it. I mean, Bobby Fish might pop back up. There's a lot of people right now that I think that NXT is kind of waiting on because they got to see if their North American champion and their world champion are about to get called up, Jimmy.
Which we'll talk about later too. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying, especially since Roderick came in after Cole and O'Reilly powdered out first. And so it wasn't even really, they didn't even really cross paths, to that degree.
Drag Gulak back down to NXT. I'm sure he'd love to be a part of this group.
I think he would be ecstatic. Yes, he would. At least he's had no roses up his ass lately.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Joel Wood says, I would have put Bobby Fish in there based on his history with Roddy. I think there's story to tell there, Jimmy. I think there's story to tell in Roderick going, come on, join us. Help out this Tyler Rust kid. And then they could, I just love this. I love a good, like, shoot-based faction. I'm all for it. Chris Townsend says, thanks for the response to my last super chat. Doing another $5 of a super chat to catapult SRS in the top 10% locality. Hashtag rich dirt cheat.
Are you kidding me? He's in the top 1%.
Well, I hate to break it to you guys, but actually I'm not in the top 1%. There are some
of you in Kentucky?
No, there's some very
You're
rich
in the
people
top 0.5%.
Jimmy, my neighbor is all of my neighbors on this side way better off than me.
Oh, come on.
I
want to see their tax statement for the year.
Okay. Well, I would, but they're all retired, Jimmy.
Oh, so you clean up compared to them then.
Yeah, indeed. My God. Guys, please leave a thumbs up, get your super chats in because we are poor. JL says, thoughts on the MMA stuff from AEW? Boy, I hated it. What did you think?
It's tough to, I don't like to use the word fake. It's tough to fake it. Like it's just, I wasn't really into it. I'll be honest with you. So when they brought Hager in, I thought Hager was a good pickup for AEW because he had kind of reestablished himself in Bellator. I thought he had more name value than when he left WWE. I looked at him almost like an up-and-coming Lashley a little bit. To me, Hager he's been underwhelming in AEW to me. And so when you get him into that element, it just was very clearly a fake MMA fight. And I don't like to use the term because it's sports entertainment, but it came up to me like a fake MMA fight. To me, blood sport is more interesting. Maybe it's the atmosphere. Maybe it's just how the fans are. Maybe it's even because the type of ring stage that they use. It's different to me when you have two guys in an MMA fight and it's very clearly a predetermined MMA. I wasn't really feeling it, but it could also be because Hager and Wardlow, there's not exactly a wealth of charisma when you're doing a staged performance. So I applaud the attempt. I mean, this has been the one thing with Tony Khan is that he attempts stuff and they don't always work. And something tells me that they'll learn.
I don't think that was a good showing for either one of them. Josh Cardenas says, I think Baszler wants to be back into NXT for the Diamond Mine. I don't know if she does or not, but it's got to be better than what she's doing now.
At least Alexa didn't do the hocus pocus shit again.
Yeah,
not really.
I mean, you know what they say, Jimmy? Pressure makes diamonds, and diamonds are as hard as a rock. And if the pressure is keeping you from being hard as a rock, check out our friends at BlueChew. BlueChew.com. It's that unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in a chewable tablet at a fraction of the cost. Maybe you're doing a little mining of your own down there. Maybe it's a little too cavernous and you're looking to make sure that you fill things up, I guess. I don't know.
You could have done better than that.
I could have done better than that, but so could a lot of people, and they don't have that confidence in their performance. Blue Chew gets it done. You can take them anytime, day or night. You can plan ahead, be ready whenever the opportunity arises. Sign up at BlueChew.com. Consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you get your prescription within days. It's done online. You don't have to go to the doctor's office. You don't have to have any awkward conversations like the one we're having right now, and you don't have to wait in line at the pharmacy. They're prepared and shipped direct. They come right to your door, does Blue Chew. And it's in a discreet package, so everybody in the world won't know you're taking Blue Chew, at least until word of mouth gets around. We can't help that. Blue Chew can't help the fact that everybody's going to be talking about your diamond hard dick. And right now, you get your first shipment free. You just pay $5 shipping. Use the code FIGHTFUL at checkout. That's BlueChew.com, promo code FIGHTFUL to receive your first month free. They'll be calling you the Messiah of the Backbreaker once you get done using BlueChew.com, code FIGHTFUL. Bezo Banks says, super chatting for that segue. Hashtag dirt sheet, bye. And Bear Hudson says, was there any talk of having Bronson Rechsteiner a part of Diamond Mine? I've been really impressed with NXT so far. What do you think of NXT since Samoa Joe returned? I think that NXT, since Samoa Joe has returned, has been phenomenal, Jimmy. It's been a great show. As far as Bronson Rex Steiner, a lot of people keep talking about him and Parker. They aren't ready yet. They are a few months into wrestling. You got to give them time. They haven't even had honest-to-God matches yet.
Had Rex Steiner been trained at all before he signed? Like, had his dad trained him before he signed?
I'm not sure. I'll have to find out.
Okay, because he's coming from football, right? Isn't he?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, he's definitely a physical specimen. He's got that going for him. So, well, let's talk about some other NXT stuff here. So you already mentioned it. So a bit of a head scratcher to me, but maybe you've got some insight. Dave Meltzer, I believe, first reported that Killer Cross and Bronson Reed. So keep in mind, you got your NXT champion and you got your NXT North American champion. They both debuted on the main roster as part of the main event taping. Why, Sean Ross Sapp? Can you explain to me why the NXT champion without Scarlett Bordeaux and the North American champion debuted on the Peacock show to no fanfare?
Well,
Why?
I haven't seen main event yet.
Right, because it airs Thursday. You're
so
right.
Until it airs, I'm not going to say anything. Like,
Okay.
They might have wanted to see how they do with certain production setups or live setups or anything like that. There are any number of reasons that they might do that. Until I see it on the screen, I'm not doubting what Dave Meltzer reported. I'm sure that they did those matches with the production setup and all that. Yeah. But until that, I got to see it. I mean, if it's that's like Karrion Kross having a regular match like that, then that's fine. They have NXT and 205 talent on there quite often. Like Mansoor was a main event for a long time. Like Deanna and Chelsea Green were on there after their little Raw call up in December of 2019. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. We'll see. I think Scarlett has a tryout of her own, or they're getting a look of her own, but they got to replenish their roster. And that's just all there is to it. They got to get a look at the roster and who they're going to call up. I think Triple H knew as soon as Vince got a look at either one of those guys, he was probably going to want them up.
Yeah, it would just be weird. It'd be weird if you're NXT champion, here he is on main event, the show that not a lot of people watch. Maybe that's why they're doing it, because they know that not a lot of people watch it and they just want to give him that experience. Maybe Vince wants a good look at him, and who knows? It does seem a little bit strange that they would just kind of bring him out quietly like that. But
Joel brings up, he says, I think they did a one-off on main event between Natalya and Charlotte months before Charlotte was called up. I think that was actually on Raw. I'm going to look just to make sure, but they brought Charlotte up to do a promotion, like to promote TakeOver, and then they beat her real quick. If you remember, it was so weird. But yeah, they had Charlotte and Sasha Banks in like 2014 on main event, but other than that, Charlotte didn't work main event before that.
Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is Raw this week. So what got into Vince McMahon? Vince McMahon's on some new vitamins or something. This felt like a reboot this week, and there was so much fresh content to watch. So you had Ricochet beat AJ Styles, fresh matchup, qualifying match for Money in the Bank. Morrison beats Randy Orton. That was a fresh matchup. Matt Riddle beat Drew McIntyre. I was stoked to see that match, Sean.
Yeah.
Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre, like just a fresh matchup. Matt Riddle wins that one clean as a sheet. They elevate Xavier Woods, put him in a Hell in a Cell match against Bobby Lashley. So much fresh content, and then even though it's a lesser deal, Alexa Bliss got new entrance music, so it felt like Raw was a reboot. What do you think happened? Do you think now they're preparing for live fans because the next pay-per-view is in front of live fans? Like, what do you think? What do you think led to the sudden shift?
People in WWE are very aware this is their opportunity to kind of kick off fresh, so I think that's being implemented a little bit. And this was a good step. Fresh matches. It's just, hope they don't do them all again in a week or two.
Yes, I agree.
And I mentioned to you, Jimmy, they're going to have to switch how they do things, because Becky Lynch, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, they're not going to do like Corbin and Nakamura and wrestle the same match 5 out of 6 weeks.
Right.
You'll be lucky if they work 5 times this year.
Yep. Cena especially. Cena's probably done until, what do you think, maybe the Rumble or something.
Bezos says it's crazy how good booking decisions help a show. Just basic, like, make sense stuff. Like AEW, I haven't loved the show over the last month, but most of the stuff Most of it makes sense. So I'm like, that was okay. Missable, but okay. I didn't leave it going, oh, I feel so insulted to watch this. So often with WWE, I didn't feel that way this week. I thought it was pretty solid. Justin Lopez says, do you think not having any NBA or MLB to go up against on Monday, they actually try to make Raw interesting this week? They should every week. It should never be, we're going to punt because of this. It should never be, well, we're going to wait until the draft. We're going to wait until Fox. We're going to wait until fans are back. No, be the reason that people are there then. Be the thing that everybody's talking about. Be the reason why people go, damn, I shouldn't watch NBA tonight because I want to know what's going to happen on Raw. You got to be that. And for anybody saying, oh, well, that's not realistic, make it realistic. You script the show.
Yep, I agree. I mean, obviously, Vince McMahon, having done this for as long as he has, obviously he just doesn't have the desire. He doesn't have the motivation. He doesn't have the enthusiasm. And he wouldn't after having done this for 30, 40 years. He just doesn't have the enthusiasm. When your broadcast partner on Monday night is paying you $2 billion over 5 years for rights to Raw and for the library rights for Peacock, you should be motivated. You should. And if you're not enthusiastic, then put somebody else in who is enthusiastic. So I agree with you. They shouldn't look at it like, oh, we got no playoffs tonight, so let's do something different. They should always be motivated, and it just doesn't seem like Vince is usually. But Raw, I thought was a good show. The fresh matchups was good. The fact that the underdogs essentially won all those fresh matches, and Riddle won clean, and good on Drew McIntyre too. Good on Drew McIntyre that he's a pro, and that you talk about a guy who's probably had the most difficult time over this pandemic era, because the guy finally gets his title. He worked his ass off to get back into the company. Then when he got back into the company, he had to kind of weather the storm in terms of shitty creative, just like Bobby Lashley. Finally gets a shot at the top, wins the title. He's in the pandemic. He's got no fans the entire time. And now he puts over Matt Riddle because he knows it's the right thing to do at that particular time. Good for Drew McIntyre.
And I hope it plays into his story. As Nick says, would love to see Drew McIntyre crisis of confidence story. Let him spiral down and have him work his way back like he has before, mind you. Maybe even have him bring back Broken Dreams. That theme would be perfect for Downward Spiral, Broken Dreams, Drew McIntyre, who's desperate to get back to where he got in front of fans. He could say, I didn't get to wrestle as champion in front of a single fan. I would love for him to go over to the UK, challenge Walter, lose a match there, and just have him be like, I will do anything to do this. And I think that anti-hero willing to do anything thing will get him over again. Because what WWE does, Jimmy, when you become champion, you become the guy or the girl that stands on the ramp and does this. Well, that's how it always is.
He cut that promo backstage before the match with Riddle where he kind of indicated, I need to work my way back up. And so the one thing that I wish they did more in WWE is what AEW does with a guy like Omega. Omega wrestles everybody. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like he's going to wrestle Jungle Boy. He wrestles everybody. He did a dark tag team match one time.
I remember one of my fondest memories watching wrestling as a kid. I would watch Mania and Action Zone Saturday, Sunday mornings. And then one Saturday morning, it's WWF Championship match. Bret Hart defending against Buddy Landel.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? I was like, I know Buddy Landel's about to get that ass whipped real bad.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I get to watch this. That's cool.
Yep.
And it didn't feel like, it was just like, okay, Bret Hart's a fighting champion. That's what it made me feel like.
Yep. And they got so much talent on that roster. Like, you're telling me that you couldn't do Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, in a one-on-one match, or Drew McIntyre against any one of these guys. They have the talent to do it. I wish they did it. I was genuinely excited to see Riddle, Drew McIntyre, because I knew that both of them had been protected going in. And so the outcome was almost in doubt a little bit. I thought Orton was going to kind of inadvertently screw Riddle the way that Riddle kind of inadvertently screwed Orton. That's what I thought was going to happen. But I was genuinely interested because they both been protected. They could do so much more of that weekly if they wanted to.
Joel says, my biggest regret of the pandemic was that Drew's entire main event run was during this era. My biggest regret of the pandemic was COVID.
Fair.
But yes, it should play into things as well. Anakin says, paying the tax to give Sean his due credit.
That's nice. Isn't
still got about 10 minutes to get your super chats in, guys. We're going to head over to FightfulSelect.com. If you want to give me my credit, you can go over there too. It helps out a lot. I'm going to have some contract news up this week as well. Just a ton of stuff up there as always. Jimmy, I put like 30, 35 figure haul videos in the can. I was going to wait until we launched on .com to release them, but I think I'm going to start releasing them on Fightful Select maybe a couple of months. So you guys will have that as well. We got more stuff coming up. So FightfulSelect.com, head over there.
What do you think of Nikki Cross, the butterfly superhero?
If anybody can get it over, she can get it over. If it was her pitch, we'll see. I tell you what, her babyface promo and Raw talk was incredible.
I didn't see it.
Jesus. Let me just pull up what she said because I heard it and I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. She said,
we're talking about that character?
Yes, she says, I know I can't fly. I don't have super strength, but when I throw on this cape, I throw on the mask, the wrist gauntlets, I feel like I can try anything. I might fail. I might fall down, but I'm going to keep trying and I'm going to keep getting back up because I have to believe in myself because nobody else will. All anyone can ever do is believe in themselves, and that's what I want to share with our audience. I just want to share this with them. I was like, Jesus Christ, man. That's pure baby face.
You know what? Hurricane Helms was over. Mighty Molly was over. Rosie was
Back
over.
in my day, you had to train as a shit for months before you got to be a full-fledged superhero, Jimmy.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. But no, they. I mean, we'll see what happens with it. It. I guess for me, I can't help but look at it like they're making fun of her. Like it kind of feels like they're making fun of her. Mm-hmm. But we'll see, because like you said, she might have the baby face, almost the sympathetic baby face like Lana when she's going through a table every week. Maybe this is the way they're going to do it with Nikki Cross and make her a sympathetic baby face. I guess we'll have to see where it goes.
Hold on. Before you do your transition, we got some super chats. Bezos
my
says,
segue.
Bezos says, how does SmackDown qualify when there are 3 active singles? Well, I can tell you exactly how I would do it. There are 7 women on the roster. There's Bayley, Bianca, Carmella, Liv, Natalya, Tamina. Then there's Sasha. You have 3 matches between them, and then you have a second chance qualifier. Now, I don't know if Sasha's going to wrestle. Bianca's the champion, but it would be nice. I think it'd be kind of cool if Bianca says, I'm going to be the first champion to win Money in the Bank too. And whether she's in it or not, it'd be different. Or she can get screwed out of a qualifier and then they have a last chance. That'd be the way to do it. Or call somebody up. That's the easy way.
That is the easy way. I agree.
I'm Malucha says, life and work are really good right now. Fightful family, and I haven't been able to watch live. Caught this at the end. Wanted to say thanks for Fightful and SRS holding it down for us fellow fans. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that truly. It means a lot that you all are willing to invest in us. It means a ton.
Roman Reigns, Rey Mysterio moving from Hell in a Cell to SmackDown. Was that a Fox move?
Yes. It was. And USA definitely wanted their own. That's for sure.
Yes. And it felt like that. It felt like they were looking at it like, well, hey, they got Roman and Rey, so we want a Hell in a Cell match too. And I got to tell you, if I'm Fox executives, I don't blame them, because they've got to be like, simmering a little bit when they see that matches are being promoted on their show to take place on a competitor streaming service.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That can't be something that they enjoy seeing on a regular basis. So I don't blame them for doing that. I thought that was interesting. Okay, I want to ask you this one. So Wesley Blake was on the 2-Man Power Trip podcast.
I just interviewed him too.
Oh, did you? Okay. Well, on the 2-Man Power Trip podcast, he said that during his run in WWE, almost an 8-year run in WWE, he said that he never met Vince McMahon, never had one conversation with Vince McMahon in 8 years. And he indicated that he tried, but he couldn't get a hold of him.
Feels like working here. I never talked to the people in charge.
Yeah, never.
I remember when I fired somebody, I was like, listen, any budget you would want to do, we got to run by Jimmy. And he had been doing stuff for a couple weeks. And I would constantly say, he'd be like, let me do this. And I'm like, listen, got to run it by Jimmy. And his response is, why do I feel like this is the Wizard of Oz and it's some dude hiding in the shadows? And I go, well, first off, you're fired because he's on screen with me every Wednesday. If you don't care enough to even know that, I don't need you here.
Well, with all due respect to Wesley Blake, I can't imagine 8 years not getting an opportunity to talk to Vince McMahon. And I honestly got to question how hard he tried. 8 years, man. I got to question how hard he tried because the guy's sitting in Gorilla. Like, just go up and talk to him. You know what I mean? 8 fucking years, Sean. How is that possible? After over 8 years, you never met Vince McMahon.
Well, you don't bother Vince at Gorilla. That's a good way to get like in trouble. But
I would.
I mean, unless you come through the curtain and he's there, and he wasn't always there on SmackDown when the Forgotten Sons were up there. He was not always there. Like he's not there all the time.
I get that, but you're telling me over 8 years, Sean?
Well, I mean, Vince wasn't at NXT either. Like he was almost never at NXT.
But there must have been dozens and dozens and dozens of times when they were in the same building.
I'm sure.
Dozens
there were
dozens and dozens.
I wouldn't even say dozens. I would say probably about a couple dozen, maybe, when I think about it. Because he was
8 years.
Jimmy, he was in NXT until April of 2020. And when 2020 came around, Vince was not around much at all. Like, actually, he wasn't around at all after the Fox thing happened until the pandemic. But then he was like locked in his office. And that's what Blake even told me. He was like, it was not easy to do that. But yeah, I just don't think there weren't as many opportunities, I think, as you would think. And then when there were, it's like, I'm sure Vince was doing stuff.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think back to, I think it was Sasha Banks who did an interview. I think it was one of the documentaries. And she said, now this is going back a few years, but she said how intimidated she was of Vince and that Hunter was the one she knew. And so in that interview, she said, I never talked to Vince. I talked to Hunter. Hunter's the one I know, and I'm intimidated by Vince. And I remember, and again, you got to understand, Sasha was a young girl. I think she'd only been called up for a couple of years. I can kind of understand the intimidation factor. But I don't know. You get to a certain, like, if I was a wrestler in WWE, I'm seeing Vince McMahon. And if I piss him off to the point that I get fired, then I get fired. I'm seeing Vince McMahon because I remember the story that Daniel Bryan told about Michael Hayes telling him, you're in the title picture now, go get to know Vince. Whatever you got to do, go get to know Vince. And Daniel Bryan made sure he got to get to know Vince. If I want to be anything in WWE, I'm going to go talk to Vince McMahon. And if I piss him off and get fired, I get fired. Yeah. Because they got so many guys that come and go. And so many guys like Big Show have talked about how, yeah, when you know, out of sight, out of mind, when you're out of the picture for a while, Vince forgets about you and he moves on. If you're in his face, he's not going to forget you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like I really think, with all due respect to Wesley Blake, if you really wanted to talk to Vince McMahon, you would have talked to Vince McMahon. Like 8 years, holy shit, dude, that's a long ass time. And I get what you're saying, NXT and everything, but yeah, if I'm in WWE, I'm talking to Vince McMahon. That's just how it is. Like you just make it happen. I do. Let me tell you something. Before I owned this company, I worked for other people. I went through a period of my life when I had no money. I think I've told Sean these stories. I used to order like the family pizza meal deal, and I keep it in my freezer and live off it for a week. I absolutely know what it's like. Now you
shame me for eating frozen lasagna.
Well, because I pay enough. I pay enough to eat better, Sean. That's
not in this economy, pal.
Oh,
housing market shot up 20-30%. Also, somebody said, stop defending CEO douches, Jimmy. Wonder why Jimmy
I'm not defending Vince. I'm saying if you want to talk to the guy, he's not the president. Like, fucking talk to the guy. You know what I'm saying?
Well, guys, I have an interview with Thunder Rosa up, an in-person interview that we did in Jacksonville. I've got an interview with Amy Rose of Ring of Honor up this week as well. And FightfulSelect.com, we're heading over there right now. My Q&A show drops this week. We always get questions from you guys and like the DMs and tweets and stuff like that. I save those for the Q&A show. If you go over there and subscribe, you can ask your question. It will get answered pretty well, whatever you have. So subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. Jimmy, you got anything else?
No, list goes on. We're going to talk about MLW. We're going to talk about Shinsuke Nakamura. We're going to talk about Kevin Owens, Lars Sullivan, Brock Anderson, Damian Priest, bunch of stuff.
Okay. Until next time, guys, we're out.